Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. To share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes. We're going to get to a couple clips in just a moment because I want to talk about something very specific. However, before we start, yesterday, me and Audrey were on a live with True Crime Justyn. We agreed that we would get off the panel if Bree was to come up because I was interested in what she was going to say, some of the answers to some of the questions Justyn might have, some of the proof that she may show, and of course we all know how that went. But I want to get into a couple clips.
Wait, so does the children who get abused tell their mom this is wrong? Why are you doing this?
Well,
this is fucking wild. You sound ignorant as fuck. I'm sorry. I don't want to get into
this kind of a dialogue. You know what I mean?
No, I don't care because I'm not going to sit here and let you say that a child needs to tell their mom when something's wrong.
Her mother is supposed to know what's wrong. She was on that trip at 22, 23.
No, actually she wasn't. Another misinformation that you have, her mother paid for that trip that they went to, the last trip they went on. She had one Make-A-Wish.
Her mother didn't work. They had donations. They had, her mother didn't work. They had donations. Everything was gifted.
Her mother got, you know how much money her mother received a month from disability and from Rod? Enough to
but that's not going to fund like a several-day trip to.
It's not. It's not when you have a house based off of income.
Disability, no.
The house, yeah. If you're getting 2 disability checks plus $2,500.
A lot of people that came from very abused households and did not, go out and have somebody.
Would you like me to mail them a cookie? Like, okay.
That's what she thinks of real abuse survivors and victims. Other ones. Other than Gypsy, who wasn't
information that people love to spread, but her mother absolutely, she got she got one Make-A-Wish trip, and the other one was a foundation that does similar things to Make-A-Wish. And it's not Make-A-Wish though. It's like another organization that does that too. Every other trip that she's ever gone on at Disney World was funded by her mother.
How do you get SSI or SSDI? When you apply for SSI or SSDI, Social Security income or Social Security disability income, the first thing the Social Security Administration offices are going to do are going to send you paperwork that you have to sign. Unless you have an attorney, they will usually handle this, sometimes electronically today. But the first thing they're going to do is make you sign an authorization to release your medical records, meaning that the Social Security Administration office is getting the consent from you to get your medical records, not your discharge paper that they might give you when you go home from the hospital, or your post-op instructions or your discharge instructions, your actual medical records directly from the hospital, the doctors, all of them. If you watched the 2016 press conference that Mike Stanfield, Gypsy's public defender turned celebrity manager today, if you watched that press conference, he actually states verbatim that we are very glad because at the beginning of this, Gypsy, who committed first-degree premeditated homicide, was looking at one of only 2 options. Those 2 options in the state of Missouri for first-degree premeditated homicide, which is anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another person upon deliberation of the matter. That is what Gypsy, in fact, did, by law, by legal standard and definition. Now, you know that Nick's trial wasn't until 2018, which is 2 years after that press conference, 3 years after the crime. Mike Stanfield then uses the local news outlets, mainstream media, to run the narrative. And remember, they started Gypsy's Revenge and HBO's documentary Mommy Dead and Dearest at the time of this press release, this press conference. He says that they are very relieved that Gypsy's got a plea deal for 10 years and that it's for second degree, a lesser crime than what she really did, not taking into consideration that in the spring and on June 14th of 2011, a whole year and a year and a half before she met Nicholas Godejohn, which was in October of 2012, that Gypsy tried to take her mother's life, not once, but twice. She tried to take her mother's life not once, but twice before she ran away for the first time, allegedly. She since then has changed her version of events with when she ran away. She also has come out and said now that she's tried to run away twice. But what does that have to do with the 2 attempted homicides in March of 2011 and June 14th of 2011? 2 very serious felony crimes, which could land you in prison for the rest of your life without the possibility of parole in pretty much any state. But certainly in Missouri, which is a capital punishment state. This right here sums up exactly how Bree thinks and feels. Her emotional over-investigation, her bias because of Gypsy. Now remember, this is somebody who's seen somebody go viral after release. And I've been here way before the trailer for the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard dropped on YouTube by Lifetime and A&E Network on October 12th of 2023. Come the first few months of 2024, she, by Gypsy's own words in season 2 of Life After Lockup, became friends with Christy, meaning she reached out to Christy and started to crawl her way to the famous, TikTok famous Gypsy Rose Blanchard, before Gypsy, self-proclaimed, became buddies with her and literally embarrassed the hell out of her by saying, oh, all she does is debunk rumors about me and my family. Well, that's kind of telling, because she told the entire world on mainstream media, on a reality TV show, that that's why she keeps her around. She keeps her buddy around because she debunks rumors online about her and her family. True or not doesn't matter. Not to get into a micro-analysis and into little itty-bitty semantics here. But the fact that even if she thought and thinks that Gypsy Rose Blanchard was abused by her mom, the whole thing is do not invalidate abuse, where other people like me say, you can't falsely accuse anybody. That's a crime. You have to validate that abuse happened. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has certainly lied about the amount, the level of abuse that she has received at the hands of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. And it has become more outrageous, outlandish, and unbelievable in the last 10 years. Lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. And when he brings up lots of victims don't commit homicide, she says, what do you want me to do? Give them a cookie? That right there is what she truly thinks of real victims and real survivors. That is how she really thinks and feels about Gypsy then. Because if she believes that Gypsy was abused, what do you want her to do? Give her a cookie? Yeah, because there are real survivors and victims of childhood abuse that don't go around committing homicide. People that suffered worse than Gypsy Rose Blanchard ever could in her worst nightmare. People who truly wish they had a mother like Dee Dee Blanchard, because it would have been a severe improvement from the abuse that they suffered and had to live through every single day of their childhood. But what do you want her to do? Just give them a cookie? That means that that's what she truly thinks and feels about abuse victims, including Gypsy Rose Blanchard, if that was true. Now, see, I've read everything. I have all the case files, the FOIAs, even the medical records, and have read through them. And I have always had this one opinion. And I know it's unpopular, but this is my opinion. This was nothing more than them using mainstream media to deflect your attention from why Gypsy committed homicide. She committed homicide because she wanted to be with Nick. She wanted to have a fairy tale life, a husband, kids, and she wanted to leave her mother's house. Now at 24 years old, she should have been allowed to do that. But they were so deep in with the fraud. And the fraud is Social Security and Medicaid fraud. So how do you get Social Security to approve you when you sign off on a release? The doctor's medical records, the hospital's medical records, not the ones you got, theirs, their end, their copies on their computers and in their files. And medical records are as flawed as the people who write them. Those medical records have to reflect a true need for disability, amputation, paraplegia, MS, muscular dystrophy. Dee Dee Blanchard did not have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Her and Gypsy were doing things like shaving her head and sitting in a wheelchair in public only. Her mom seen her walk all day, all the time behind closed doors. That's why the windows were blacked out. Because they were getting SSI, SSDI for Gypsy for a medical need that wasn't there. And Gypsy knows it, and so does she and Ken. I'm also going to get into the second part of this. That yes, we should normalize children being able to be vocal about the abuse that they're suffering. That is what advocacy and awareness and education is for. To prevent crimes like this from happening to begin with. To prevent another child from having to suffer this kind of trauma. Yes, we should normalize children being able to be vocal about what they are enduring. Normalize victims being able to come forward. But you can't, because people like Bree are over here saying, what do you want me to do? Give them a cookie? I don't know. Then stuff 1,000 cookies from the cookie lady over in Gypsy's mouth then, because she certainly is not the abuse victim that she has tried to make people think she is. She has a high degree of sociopathy, Dr. Mark Feldman, the self-proclaimed Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy expert. His words verbatim. Gypsy Rose Blanchard shows a high degree of sociopathy. So is she the one anomaly, the one and only person who not only survived to 24, but actually took the life of somebody who was perpetrating against them? Or is it more realistic that the truth and the fact is that this is not Munchausen by proxy? So I was very interested because I wanted to hear and I wanted to see what Bree was going to say. And it started off really well until she gets too emotionally invested and heated. And then the conversation goes nowhere. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to learn. There's nothing more that you can say or do or listen to, because your brain's already stonewalled. You're already dead set on your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your emotions, your critiques. So there is nothing that you can do from that point on. She may be defending her friend, but this is the wrong messenger to deliver that message, because she's not calm and she doesn't educate with truth, with fact, with kindness, with relatability, transparency, with that empathy, sympathy, and compassion that she oftentimes says that she gives to Gypsy, but nobody else. Which is weird because there are so many survivors, literal survivors, that suffered 10 times worse than what Gypsy Rose Blanchard said she did. And they deserve that. But you know, it's the child right now that can't come forward because people like Amber Heard and Belle Gibson and Gypsy Rose Blanchard, they make a mockery of not only social media, but mainstream media. They make a mockery of our criminal systems, our justice systems, our legal systems, our prison systems, incarceration systems, whatever you want to call it. They make a mockery out of all of it. And that's why victims are scared to come forward, because people like this show their true colors and say, what do you want me to do? Just give them a cookie? Essentially saying F all true victims and survivors. Gypsy's abuse narrative that she has been trying to sell and paint does not come first and foremost before mine or anybody else's true story. Not your true story. Gypsy didn't suffer the worst that she's trying to make everybody convinced that she did. You don't read at a 10th or an 11th grade reading level like 50 Shades of Grey, Harry Potter, among many other books that were in her bedroom in the crime scene photos with only a 2nd grade level reading comprehension skills or basic education. Louisiana and Missouri both have very strict truancy laws. You can homeschool your child, but you have to prove that you're actually doing it. Otherwise, truancy laws. So she doesn't educate or even have a conversation with anybody with calmness, with rationality, with logic, with comprehension skills, with a high degree of intelligence and emotional intelligence. You can not only not talk to somebody like that, you cannot learn from somebody like that. So she's certainly the wrong person to be educating people on the case and the crime and the life of Gypsy Rose Blanchard or Nicholas Godejohn or Dee Dee Blanchard or Nick's mom, Stephanie Goldammer. Because Gypsy doesn't own the life rights to her mother and her mother's story, or Nicholas and his story, or his mother and her story. She doesn't have the right to defame, libel, slander anybody else with lies, with mistruths, with rewriting of history to try to make herself look better. But the second thing she says in this is that you're okay, accusing Justyn of being okay with Nicholas, who wanted to do a certain thing to Dee Dee's body. The fact is, though, he did not do that. And he did not do that to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. In October of 2023, that's why I started talking about this crime, her release. I followed everything from her release to how she blew up on social media, how she was using mainstream media, and all the lies in between. Her behavior, her actions, her words, and her choices. Because everybody enables her. They think that they coddle her like she is truly this victim and survivor. They coddle her and excuse everything with, well, she's just living her life for the first time. It's okay. She can do whatever she wants. No, she can't. Because her pursuit of her own happiness doesn't come first and foremost before her infringing on other people's rights, harming other people, discarding and disposing of other people. I've been here and I've seen everything happen on social media. I've seen people that are friends with Gypsy Rose Blanchard be worse off for knowing her, become the worst versions of themselves because they know her. They defend her blindly and are extremely biased. If Gypsy Rose Blanchard can do whatever she wants, then I can do whatever the hell I want. Justyn can do whatever the hell he wants. You can do whatever the hell you want. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is no one and nothing special. And she doesn't get a pass just because everybody wants to believe all of her lies and her inconsistencies. Sure, was her mom perfect? No, no mother is perfect. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been caught not buckling her baby, not once, but 3 different occasions, in a vehicle where Ken is recklessly driving 20 miles per hour over the posted speed limit on a Texas highway. Not once, but twice, in videos, their own content. She also endangered her child again in content, putting electric noise machines and vaporizers on the edge of her crib. She also doxes her own baby's face when she shows the VTech monitor in one of her videos. Dee Dee wasn't perfect, but you know what? Gypsy only has a 6-month-old baby and she's already a convicted murderer. And she's already endangered her own child. Plus, she has made a mockery of mainstream media, reality TV, and social media. She's turned it into a toxic cesspool. Cyber stalking, harassing, bullying, cyberbullying, doxing, threatening, defaming, slandering, libeling, putting out private correspondence, putting out people's private medical information. When the truth and the fact is that Nicholas didn't do this to Dee Dee Blanchard. He did not do that to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And the same can be argued for Damona and Ruby. She had fantasies of taking her mother's life a year and a half before she ever met Nick in October of 2012. She attempted to take her life in March and in June 14th of 2011, all on her own. She had these deep, dark fantasies of wanting her mother gone, and she got what she wanted. If it wasn't Nick, it was going to be somebody else. Remember, Gypsy is the one that went on the website. She's the one that found Nick. She's the one that reached out to him first. She's the one that made their relationship exclusive after 4 days of talking to him. She's the one that stole the knife months in advance. She's the one that put it in his hands. She's the one who orchestrated all of this. What she committed was first-degree premeditated homicide. But Dee Dee Blanchard did not have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Even Dr. John Matthias said, by the DSM-5, which psychiatrists use to diagnose, Dee Dee Blanchard doesn't meet any of the criteria at all, posthumously, to say, yeah, she had this. In fact, the opposite, she had none of them. People with that seek attention from medical professionals only. What Gypsy and her mom were doing were lying to doctors, convincing doctors that she was a partial paralyzed person with MS or muscular dystrophy so they could get an SSI or SSDI check every month. And she walked at home all the time. Thank you for Bree and Ken for confirming.